Welcome to Sustainable Packaging with Cory Connors. Today's guest is Mr. Matt Nucio, the president of Design Edge. How are you, Matt?
Doing well, Cory. How are you today?
Really good. For those listening, Matt has behind him an array of awesome toys and artwork and stuff like that. Can you tell us a little bit about that and a little bit about your background?
Sure. Well, we'll talk about my background and my background, huh? So we'll go down on backgrounds today.
Exactly.
A bunch of the stuff you see behind you is stuff that we've designed the packaging for and the product for. And some of it's, some vintage stuff, a few things that, way before my time. So they're up there just because I like it. Like right above my head's a vintage Mego action figure from about 1977.
Wow.
But like the Run DMC stuff and the Blues Brothers and Animal House and even some of the Pog stuff up there, and Spider-Man. Actually, this one's great. This is a factory mistake. If you can see it, that's a She-Hulk package with a Spider-Man in it.
Oh, how cool.
So,
and my understanding with collectibles is mistakes are very valuable. Is that the case?
Yeah. At least, we try to make it seem that way. Like, hey, it's very valuable.
Trust me, right?
You should thank me. I just increased the value of that by having a typo.
Well, tell us how you got into the toy business. This is really interesting to me.
Sure. So I grew up in the toy business. So my father started in the toy industry in the late 1960s, working for Ideal Toys, which was a big player in the time. And then he bounced around to a couple of companies and ended up at one company called HG Toys, which was like the king of dress up stuff. And they did everything, like chips, sets, and Dukes of Hazzard. And my personal favorite is Serpico. They did Serpico. I'm like, which kid wants to be a cop if the other cops want to shoot, right? This is but it was Planet of the Apes, all that, cool stuff from the 70s. And he was there pretty much from the year I was born until about 1987 when they got sold, and he didn't want to move from New York to Chicago. So him and my mother, who's an illustrator and a former art teacher, started Design Edge as a package design firm out of the garage. I was 14. It was pre-computers. I was cutting Ruby Lift and laying down, register tape and learning the old school way of doing packaging. And, and then if you fast forward, that's like 35 years ago at this point. We've grown to be one of the main players, or definitely as an outsource to the toy industry, designing for packaging for Spin Master, Hasbro, Mattel, Goliath, all the main players. I can walk into any Target or Walmart or Barnes and Noble and find something that we've done, that's current. So we worked on some really, really big stuff. And on top of that, we also design product and engineer product, and we build prototypes. And I have since in 2004, I opened offices in China, and we manufacture toys for companies all over the world.
Wow. Okay. So you manufacture the toy as well.
Yeah. But in addition to that, we manufacture packaging for lots of people. And my favorite joke, because it's true, is that my clients range from Hasbro to Hooters. And we supply takeout packaging for Hooters. So if you're getting a bunch of wings and leaving there, that's coming from us. And we do a lot of coffee boxes, all over the country, and a lot of takeout food stuff and stuff for places like Restaurant Depot and the Hanes brands. We supplying packaging to worldwide. But we're primarily known for toys, and we're big players in the toy space.
What a fun industry to be a part of. And I think behind you, for the people just listening and not watching the video, there's a lot of thermoform, clamshell kind of toy display things that you would very commonly see in a Toys R Us or a Target. Has there been a change recently to a more sustainable option for that kind of a toy?
Yes, of course. So a lot of stuff, some of the stuff you see is 20 years old. Right. It was different back then, and you can see, and then a lot of PET. You can actually see a few of these are turning yellow because of the PETs starting to biodegrade. Yeah. So yeah, it's totally we're like every other industry, we want to shrink our footprint. We also want to keep our marketing strong. So it's more and more board options, and we're tying things down, not with plastic straps, but paper straps, and lowering the footprint and whatever we can to be as creative as we can. But but toys packaging is a huge part of it, and it's very required. It's not like the gift business where you can just make something look really pretty and hope it sells. It requires big marketing. We have to make billboards that, kids are going to run past it, 20 miles an hour as they jet across the toy section. But they have to be able to stop and be like, oh, what's that? And, so you've got a lot of noise in that space. So it's hard to compete.
I've often been asked something a little bit outside of my scope of knowledge from people that find out I'm in the packaging industry. And they often ask, why are toys so hard to get out of the packaging?
Okay.
Can you speak to that for our audience?
Sure. I mean, it's a matter of IQ.
I won't.
Yeah, I can take it out of the package
Gonna,
in 2 seconds. I'm sure you can too, but
that's not going to be my answer.
No. Actually, it has less to do with the package design process as it has to do with drop testing.
Okay.
Trust
And
me, we
so
don't want to secure it that tight, but it's gonna, pass drop testing. That's just the way it's gonna be.
And for the people listening and watching, the drop test is.
So when a third-party lab tests the product to see if it meets the requirements for anything from safety to just, being able to stay together through shipping,
Right.
one of the things that they do is drop testing, which is essentially, simply put, they climb a ladder and they drop it. And if it breaks out of its position, it fails drop test. So it has to be able to do that. Because you remember, a lot of toys are coming from overseas, and those container ships take quite a beating. And then, even if you mail it through Amazon, it's going to take quite a beating. And if you've got a box with a window in it and the product, firm supposed to be right there on display, and it's now ripped out of its position, you'd probably be more upset that you're giving your daughter a doll that looks like it just passed out drunk in the corner of the box, opposed to untie it.
There's a fine line between capabilities and sustainability.
Yes.
And I think you're exactly right. Customers, consumers, and brands and designers and all of these people involved with packaging are still going to want their product to be in pristine condition. I mean, how many times have you seen someone pull something off of a shelf and put it back and grab the one behind it because the one on the front has a dinged corner, even if it's something that it doesn't matter, like a food product or something that you're going to eat.
Not myself, though. I go to the supermarket, I look for the dinged cans.
Well, good for you. Thank you for solving that issue
I feel like country. I'm paying it forward to my fellow packagers. But you're 100% correct. And also, toys have a lot of try-me features, and those require windows. And again, if the product moves, the try-me spot is not going to be aligned. So now you can't try it.
Right. Very true, and such an important part for a young person or an older person to test a toy before they buy it. Can you tell us something that you've seen that you're impressed with as far as sustainability goes? So can you tell us, like, maybe a new material or some kind of a new line of toys that you thought, hey, that's a good idea?
I have noses so against the glass on this stuff, right? I'm looking at it. I mean, I've seen trends, that have come around. I kind of like where a lot of people are going with foil bags.
Oh yeah.
I think that's come a long way. There was a time when if you suggested putting a product in a bag, that you'd be laughed at, and even to this day, when people ask me, what I wanted, if I have a suggestion for packaging, I joke around, I go a poly bag with a header,
Yeah. Right.
But traditionally that's considered the most budget type of packaging.
Yeah.
But now foil bags, resealable. We've done some for some Unilever and Procter and Gamble products that are at Target that they look fantastic. They print really well. That foil backing really makes things pop.
Yeah. And there are advances to being able to recycle those.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of LCAs that will tell you that is the lowest carbon footprint for packaging. So I think people need to understand that we got to look at the big picture here. And if you're only using half an ounce of material instead of 3 ounces, that can translate into major, not only carbon footprint reduction, but a cost savings for the company that's selling and the consumer that's buying.
Yeah, and educating the consumers to accept this style of packaging and realize it's the norm going forward is a major step. When I first entered the toy industry, the big joke was if you couldn't make the product good, you made it big.
I like, that's very accurate for gifting. People want to
Yeah,
buy something large.
yeah.
Yeah. And get the feel of the perception of value, right?
But that's, that's becoming less and less the case because it's harder, the footprint, it matters, but we also have this big problem when it comes to toys. We can't, you got the Amazons of the world versus the Targets of the world. We can't condense a toy into the smallest possible footprint possible for that allows for cheap shipping, because you're going to squish the product, right? So it still needs to be on display, and for many reasons, and not just so the consumer would want to buy it, but speaking to my background and my literal background,
Right.
it could be on someone's shelf for 20, 30, 40 years.
Yeah.
They're collectibles.
Right. Which is a very important thought when you're talking about, sustainable, meaning you need it to sustain, you need it to live a long time. And I think that's the other side of this coin. So well said. Do you have like a favorite project that you've worked on, or a memorable one that you thought, man, I'm really proud to be a part of this launch, or this toy is really awesome, or something like that?
I do and I don't. I have things that I'm just associated with. So I just, like, at this point, I used to be like, oh, I'm sick of talking about that, but then it just becomes part of the lore. I'm like known in my neighborhood as the Tickle Me Elmo guy, because I worked on Tickle Me Elmo, but I'm like, so long ago, like, we've done so many cool things since then. And I'm often asked by people like, oh, what's some cool stuff you're doing? But the reality is, most adults don't know what's going on in the toy world. I could tell them an item that's selling millions of units right now, and they'll have a blank look on their face, like,
Right.
no idea
Totally.
what you're talking about. I'm like, it's the hottest thing, and it's ridiculous, it's funny, like, that's just pop culture in general. Like, I studied drawing at a school not too far from here, which, I've been doing my whole
Oh,
life.
wow. That's
Continue
really
on.
interesting.
And then my instructor, who's world class, a gentleman by the name of Robert Zeller, he he was talking to me. He's like, so do you work with a lot of celebrities? Because I was late one class because I was with some celebrity. And I'm like, yeah, oftentimes they want to do toys, or we're making a toy of them. So he's like, so, like, what's like one that you've done more recently that I would get excited about my kids? And I'm like, well, we just did a whole thing with Post Malone, and he had no idea who Post Malone is. And right, he had like text his daughter, who like totally like busted his chops for like not knowing who. But to my point, a product or a game or a toy can be just as popular as, say, Post Malone is, to a
Right.
certain genre, and yet nobody knows that it's, even some other people don't even know it exists. But we've
Yeah.
worked on Pogs, we've worked on Tickle Me Elmo, we've done action figures and collectible vinyls for, countless celebrities and brands, tons of board games. We've been nominated for Toady, which is Toy of the Year, something like, I think it's like 5 times at this point, which is the
Congratulations.
award of toy design, and as well as Taggy, which is like the Grammy. We've been nominated for those a bunch. Never won though. We always get nominated. Although I guess technically I could say, just being part of Tickle Me Elmo, that won, but I didn't design. I only worked on preliminary sketches and stuff for that.
You're
But yeah,
you're the Susan Lucci of the toy business.
yes.
For those listening that are younger than 4 years old, she was a actress in
Soap operas.
soap operas back in the day, and didn't win until her 12th nomination or something like that. So
Yeah, something crazy like that.
it's
But
never too late for you, Matt.
yeah, I'm hoping. But we've also incorporated. This is something cool I should actually bring up. We've also started trying to incorporate the toy into the packaging more, so the package becomes the play. In fact, we got nominated for Toady for a package we did with Fisher Price 2 years ago, where it was for Imagine X, which is those little action figures. It was the Gotham playset, to which the box turned into a Gotham playset.
Oh, I love that. That's awesome. Reusable packaging.
Yeah. So, and we've done some other stuff where, like, doll boxes where the box becomes a stage for them to perform, or the box becomes like a cool closet with 100 pairs of shoes in it, and like, so we were trying to more, make the the classic, hey, buy the toy and the kid plays with the box. We're like, yeah, we hope so.
Right. And that's a perfect example of how packaging can be more user friendly and more interesting and actually help sell a product. I've got a 7-year-old and a 10-year-old kid, and they're always talking about things like that. Like, this is really neat. This Barbie does this, or this Pokemon does that. And it's fascinating to me.
Yeah,
Well done.
I love it.
So one more quick question. What is the United Inventors Association Toy Hub?
Oh, great question. So I sit on the board of the United Inventors Association of America, which is the world's largest inventor advocacy group. So we advocate through education, nonprofit, born out of the USPTO in the late 80s. We hold shows all over the country. I just recently moderated Shark Tank panels at the National Hardware Show.
Cool.
So the Toy Hub is something that I put together because I'm on the executive board of the UIA, to which we could focus particularly on the needs of the toy industry. So what toy inventors are doing and what toy inventors should be educated about. And so I got all the top brass from Mattel and Hasbro and Spin Master and the likes to sit on a board, and we're making educational videos and we're writing content and building it all out. It's been announced, hasn't been officially launched yet, but a lot of stuff's in the works and it's all free.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. And the intent is to help protect the inventor. Is
Yes,
that what I'm hearing?
They don't get ripped off from scams, or they know the process to doing things, and they know what to expect, and whatever we can do to help them. The UAA does some fantastic work in many genres, toys, but we also have people working on water filtration for third world nations. Like, it's any type of, it's a pretty cool organization. And, besides designing product and packaging, we represent inventors to major toy companies. So we do a lot of that.
It's a fascinating world that you work in.
Yeah,
Very
I love
interesting.
it's one of those things. I was actually talking to a friend about this the other night, that if I won lotto, I wouldn't quit my job.
Yeah. Well, now that is an incredible statement, and kudos to you for finding a passion and turning it into a job. That's very rare in this world.
Yeah.
Well done.
Knock on wood.
Yeah. Well, what's the best way for people to get in touch with you, Matt?
Sure. You can email me at matt@designedge.net. You could also go to our website, which is designedge.net. But for some particular reason, people really like to reach out to me on LinkedIn, which you can just find me. I'm sure my name's written in the description, but I get a pretty decent following on LinkedIn. So yeah, please like and follow me there.
I'll put all those links in the show notes so people can easily reach you. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you. It was a pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you, Landsberg Aurora, for sponsoring this podcast. If you're listening, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. Stay tuned for more.